All right, I have started recording just so that everyone knows. Hello and welcome to our webinar, Protecting Your Funds, Protecting Your Future. This webinar is part of Northwest's Financial Wellness Series. My name is Denise Kitchen. I'm your host, and I'm the Business Development Specialist of the Retail Sales and Service Department. Our department manages the partnerships the credit union has with organizations so that they can offer credit union membership as part of their benefits package to their employees, members, and volunteers. First off, thanks again so much for your interest in our webinar today. Secondly, I'd like to go over some housekeeping items. Everyone is muted at this point due to the number of participants, and we do ask that you hold your questions until the end of the presentation and then ask them via the chat feature when we get to our Q&A session. You can find the chat feature on the bottom of your screen, and you can either direct your questions directly to the presenters or to everyone. Their email addresses will also be listed at the end of the presentation. Please also do use your reactions button. It's down at the bottom as well near the chat feature, and let us know how we're doing throughout the presentation. We will be raffling off a $25 Visa gift card after the Q&A session, so please make sure you stay tuned. Also, as a new little caveat that we've added, Joanna, yes, we are giving away thumb drives today that will already have the documents Joanna is talking about loaded onto them. So I have each one of your email addresses, and I will be emailing you for your actual mailing address so that I can mail those to you. But that will be done automatically. So at this point, there's really nothing that you have to do for that. So without further ado, let me introduce to you Joanna Wilbur, our team lead of IRA Trust and Estate, and Chris Greenhill, our private relationship manager, who will actually start us off. So Chris, go ahead, take the floor.
All right, thank you so much, Denise, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited to talk and speak on this topic today on NCUA coverage, because I get a lot of questions from my members around what they need to do to make sure that their money is fully insured here at the credit union, or want to find out how much coverage they actually have. So today we'll be discussing what NCUA coverage is and ownership of accounts and the tools to find out where you stand. I will talk about the different titles of the accounts and how the titles of the accounts influence how much coverage you actually have. And we'll talk about what tools are available to help you determine those situations. And as stated, Joanna will be speaking with us today towards the end about the different documents that you should obtain to ensure that you and your loved ones are prepared for every kind of emergency. So let's dive in. So what is NCUA and why does it matter? You know, so to kind of back up a little bit, FDIC was created first in 1933 in response to thousands of bank failures that occurred during the Great Depression in the early 20s and 30s. So later, NCUA follows. So NCUA stands for the National Credit Union Administration. Congress created NCUA in 1970. Okay, and they created this group of fine people operate the National Credit Union Share Insurance Fund. As of today, deposits held in a federally insured institution are insured to at least $250,000 per individual depositor. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that means. And it is backed by the full faith of the United States government. So the reason why this matters is usually tied to a question. If a federally insured institution fails, what happens to my money? Well, the National Credit Union Share Insurance Fund is used to make payments to members to make them whole, and they provide assistance with the liquidation of the failed institution and carry out those administrative duties. So the bottom line is that any federal insured institution, if it fails, these folks step in to make sure that your money is recovered based on the amount of coverage that you have. Many of you may be familiar with seeing or have heard of FDIC, and most of the time, or I would say pretty often, I hear a lot of members ask about FDIC coverage on their account. And I think it's important to address the differences or difference between FDIC and NCUA, or at least the misconception. So there's only one difference between FDIC and NCUA. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, or FDIC, is a government agency that insures customers' deposits in a bank. The National Credit Union Administration, or NCUA, insures deposits held at a credit union. The coverage amounts for FDIC and NCUA are the same. So you're receiving the same amount of protections. It is regulated the same. All in every other way, it is the same. Just banks, credit unions. One is not any safer than the other. So now we kind of talked about what NCUA is. Let's talk a little bit about what it may mean to your savings. People want to know that, you know, their money is safe at all times in the bank through good economies and bad ones. And our government understands this. So that's why the full backing of the federal government goes a long way in addressing these fears in the event of a bank failure. The limits that I mentioned earlier for NCUA covered deposits is $250,000 per depositor. Now, I want to take some time to address some of the myths or misunderstandings as it pertains to the coverages on your account. One example would be opening a separate similar titled account. This doesn't give you more coverage. So for example, say you had $250,000 in a savings account and you opened 2 more savings accounts, but they're titled the same way. This doesn't give you more coverage. You're not covered up to $750,000 because you have separate savings accounts. That's not how that works. Opening a different type of account also does not give you more coverage. So again, if you had $250,000 in a checking account and then you open a CD in a savings account, but they're all titled the same, this does not increase your coverage. Some people even are confused about, well, if the bank fails and I have named beneficiaries on the account, do those people get the money as well? No, in the event of a failure, that money will only go to the owner or owners of the account. So these are some of the common misunderstandings that I've heard over the years talking to people about NCUA coverage. So now let's get into the weeds a little bit more here and get a better understanding of how you would know if your funds are covered. When you enter a financial institution, there are several signs on the door or even the desk of the representative that's assisting you. And you probably don't even pay too much attention to this. You will see an NCUA sign that lets you know that the products offered and discussed are federally insured accounts. So that's really your first notification or flag to tell you, hey, this is where I am. This is the type of products that we'll be talking about. So what type of accounts am I talking about here? Personal and business. These are checking accounts, savings accounts, money markets, share accounts, CDs, even cashier checks and money orders are insured under NCUA. And also bank IRAs are also insured under NCUA. And I'll talk a little bit more or touch a little bit more on the IRA portion. One other thing I've heard some people say is, hey, well, I have a federally insured institution that has some money in my safe deposit box. Well, guess what, people? The money in your safe deposit box is not insured, even if it's held in an institution that is federally insured. So I hope that makes sense. So now I want to talk about ownership accounts. And the most common type of ownership account people may be familiar with is just a single ownership account. This is an account that's just in your name with no beneficiary's name. And again, this is $250,000 per depositor at an institution. So then what happens if you're in the fortunate situation of having more than $250,000 at an institution? What can you do? There's essentially 4 ways to maximize your coverage as it pertains to NCUA. Okay, so the first one is both NCUA and FDIC insure joint accounts separately from a single account. So it counts separately. So if you have an account with 250,000 in it and you open a joint account and put 500,000 in it with another person, obviously, that 500,000 would be insured separately from that 250,000, meaning that full amount would be insured. And I'll show you an example of that later on. Another example or another way to maximize your coverage is naming a beneficiary. So instead of keeping your child or your spouse's money or whomever you would want to gift this money to in the event of your death, having it in an account with no beneficiary name, you can actually name them on your account to increase the amount of coverage that you have on the account. Okay, so that's another way to increase the amount of coverage that you have. You can also create a revocable trust. So this is an account owned by one or more people that names a beneficiary or more than one to receive deposits upon the death of the owner. So FDIC and NCUA insure revocable trusts up to 250,000 for each named beneficiary. So it needs to be named within your trust documents, okay? That means that if you have 2 beneficiaries on a trust account, you're insured for up to $500,000, not $750,000. So the owner of the trust does not count towards increasing that coverage, but for every beneficiary name, that gives you additional coverage. The last strategy or way to maximize your coverage is if you're fully maxed out in your coverage at one institution, you still have the ability to open up an account at a separate federally insured institution. So if you were maxed out in your coverage from I don't know, USAA, and you needed or wanted more coverage, then you could open an account here in Northwest to have more coverage, federally insured coverage on your account. So now I've kind of talked about the different titles and ownerships on the account. Now I want to show you how this could apply to you. What does this mean to you? How do you apply what I've kind of shared earlier to your specific, your situation? So the resource that I want to show you all is called mycreditunion.gov. So you want to go to this site, and on it, you will find the Share Insurance Estimator. So I'm going to walk through some examples with you all just so you can kind of see what this would look like should you want to apply your information in to find out how much coverage you have. All right. Okay. So here we are on the site here. As I stated, Share Insurance Estimator. So on the site, the first thing it's going to ask you to do is to put in your insured bank. Okay, so that will, in this example, we'll use Northwest Federal Credit Union and say we're operating with personal accounts. So I've added a couple of scenarios here in this example. So here we are. John has an account with $250,000 in it. It's just in his name, and he does not have any beneficiary's name. Okay, so also in this example, I have J and J. So this is John and Jane's joint account, and in it they have $500,000. And even John also has a business account with $500,000 in it. Okay, so once you plug in this feature, plug in the information, and I'll show you how to do that as well, you'll simply hit calculate coverage. And as you can see, the money that's held in just John's name is fully insured for that $250,000. And then we come down to the joint accounts, we'll see that the J and J account, which has $500,000 in it, are insured for that full amount because John and Jane are the joint owners on this account. And then we come down to the business and we see that John has $500,000 in this account. But on a business account, that is still capped at $250,000. So it doesn't matter if he has an operating account, a payroll account, the total amount for John's business under this tax ID number is going to be $250,000. Okay. So now let's just kind of walk you through an example. Say Jane wanted to open up an account in just her name. So I would single with no beneficiaries. I will put in Jane's name and I'm gonna put Jane's account. Okay. And say Jane has 250,000 that she also wants to put in. All right, this up. I'm sorry. She is alive and is a member. And the account balance. There we go. All right. Say she has 250,000. So we add that to this report. So now we see her account here, and we can recalculate this to see how this would influence the coverage. So again, you see, even though Jane is joint on the account with John down here, her individual account is still fully insured for the $250,000. One other example I want to kind of walk you through is, say you have a trust. So we would say this is John. John is the owner of the trust, and he's alive and a member. And say they have a child named Julie, and she's a person and she's alive. Okay, and I'm going to add an additional owner because I'm going to say that Jane is on this trust as well as the owner. Okay, so I'm going to name this trust account. And in the trust account, we're going to say that there's 300,000 in this account. Okay, and we're simply going to add it to the report. And now we're going to come down, and under the trust section, we find the trust account with 300,000 in it. Okay, so when I calculate the coverage here, you can see that this money is fully insured as well. Okay, so I wanted to walk you all through this just so you can see how easy it is to plug in your information and see if your money is fully insured. Now, IRAs, just to kind of touch on this, is you have a traditional or Roth IRA. These are aggregate balances in terms of federally insured funds. So if you have an IRA, a bank IRA with us, and that IRA in your Roth has 250,000 in it, we can add it to the report. Sorry. Living. And we'll come down, and under your IRAs, retirement accounts, we hit calculate coverage, and you will find 250,000. So you can do this all per institution that you work with. Another great benefit of using this tool on the last step here is you actually have the ability to print this report. So once you click print the report, you can obviously print it out for your records, or you can save it as a PDF and save it electronically. That's beneficial to you. So now that I've kind of talked extensively about the coverage on your accounts for NCUA, I want to pass the baton now to my partner, Joanna, who will wrap us up talking about our emergency documents and what you need to have in place. Take it away.
Joanna, you're muted.
Yeah, we got you muted. You're still muted.
Hold on.
There we go.
There you go.
Thank you.
Gotcha.
All right, now I can unmute. All right, great. let's see. Let me just here. Yes. And we are going to go over here. All righty.
Yes, nice.
Here we are. So thank you very much for your time. And just a quick note on what we talked about regarding the share insurance for IRAs. You know how when you put on a beneficiary for your account, how many beneficiaries you can have also increases your insurance. What you also need to remember is that with an IRA, however, regardless of how many beneficiaries you have, the max insured is $250,000. So you can have 5 kids, and if you have more than $250,000, the insurance is capped at $250,000. So let's talk about our organized documents, right? So one of the things that we want to do here at the credit union is not just take care of your money, but also help you, if at all possible, take care of other things that you may have going on, such as documents in the time of emergency, or if you have a critical need to get these pieces of paper and pieces of your life together so that you can rebuild your life after something critical happens. For example, I was just thinking about, one of the things I thought about this summer when we were putting this together was the folks who have gone through wildfires and the floods, the flooding that happened in Rockville, and also the flooding that happened in New York, and also the folks in Florida, down there at Surfside at Champlain Towers. Imagine if you were told that you needed to leave your home in 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or even if you had even a longer period of time, and you needed to collect documents and get out of there like that. You only have a limited amount of time. Of course, you want to get out of there with your lives, with your family, with your pets, with whatever you can take with you. But the other thing that folks also don't think about is the fact that you also need to think about the fact of you need to get your documents with your critical papers, things such as your mortgage information, your bank accounts, all that sort of thing. So this little handy dandy thing that we're going to give you, not to mention, we also have this on our website, is a document organizer that helps you put those items all in one place. And we're going to talk about maybe some of the things that you might want to put in there to think about what you might want to have on hand to put in this document organizer. So what would you include in that? All right. So what you want to have are vital records. That would be copies of your birth certificate, any adoption records that you might have, copies of your marriage license, driver's license, passports, social security cards, deeds to your home and property, a list of all your bank accounts, all that sort of thing. And the reason that you want to make these copies is there will be times, true, where you need to have the original document. But the good thing about having these copies available to you is the fact that when you go to contact these institutions in order to get any of these originals, say you have to call the State Department to get another copy of your passport. Say you have to call the vital records department of whatever state that you were born in. If you have some of the serial numbers and that sort of thing, that makes it so much easier to get these originals back to you. Plus, when you go to apply for certain kinds of assistance, having that information already there, as opposed to waiting months, years almost for some people to get something like a green card or something like that, having those documents already copied and ready to go will help you immensely and your family immensely, putting your lives back together. This document locator, okay, will allow you to do that. And the nifty thing about this is you can download this, put it on your computer, You can have various kinds of copies in various places. Don't have all your eggs in one basket. Don't put everything all in your home. You can have it on your computer. You can have it on a thumb drive. You can have a hard copy that you might give to family members. You can have a thumb drive that you might give to them, to family members. So that's also important to have. Something else you might want to put on there would be financial information, your bank account numbers, how to get into various online accounts, list of all your retirement accounts, list of any current income streams that you have coming in. Maybe you have rental property, maybe you get royalties, maybe you have dividend payments that come to you once a month or once every quarter or something like that. That sort of thing, that's also very important to have. Other things you want to include, of course, are also any medical information that you may have. That would be any medical conditions that you have. That would also be any drugs that you are currently taking or that family members are taking, and also the dosages and the pharmacy where you might be getting these documents, or if there's a mail order situation that you have that they're coming to the home, that also will give you, you also want that information because you'll need to contact that mail order pharmacy to say, oh, I'm not here for the next 6 months or 2 months. Now they need to go here. You have all that information right then and there. You'll be able to take care of that sort of thing. Also contacts such as, you know, who do you want to call in emergency? If you're ill, if you need to contact non-custodial parents, that sort of thing. You want to have that information also in your emergency document prep handbook that we're going to put together. We're going to show you. So where do you find this? Where would you find this information? We have it on our website, nwfcu.org, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to fill this out. You just go into our disclosures section where it says resources, disclosures, and then you'll go to under money management tools in order to fill out this document. You can also download it and put it on your computer if you so desire. So let's go into that. So the nice thing about this is we see that you have, you see the table of contents. You'll see information where you'll put your name. You'll put, this is really good in that you'll also have your emergency contacts right here. You'll also have, if you're served in the military, you can put your military information on here, your DD-14, all that kind of good stuff. Then we start going into your financial information, any retirement things that are going on there. That's important to know and see. Monthly bills. This is good in that this is a good way that you can have all of your bills in one place. If not all of them, then a goodly number of them. The most important things, remember, what a lot of people don't realize, and let's say your house burns to the ground or you're in a flood, guess what? You still have to pay your gas bill or your electric bill. You still have to pay your mortgage. You still have to pay the water bill. Even though you're not living in that structure, that bill is still owed. A lot of people don't know that. So this is a way that you have all this information at your fingertips and you don't have to worry about trying to figure out where these are. Netflix, streaming, usernames. So in our household, different people set up our streaming things. So I don't always know what passwords my husband uses or usernames. He doesn't know all the same thing that I do. This is a good way to have all the information on tap. The other thing then that you want to have, of course, is household debt, bills, auto loans, that kind of thing. You want to have that on tap. Financial accounts. This is where we get to the meat of the matter. So if you don't want to put all of your financial information there, that's fine. But how about putting the heavy hitters? Where are the accounts that you do most of your banking from? If you have a major checking account that you do most of your accounting, paying of bills and that sort of thing, that you wash a lot of money through, that is definitely one of the most important things that you want to have people have access to. More financial account information. Okay, we have a lot of those insurance policies. You have long-term care. This is a lot to go through, it's true. And you don't have to sit down and do it all at once. That's the nice thing about having it, you know, that you can download it. You can fill it out over time. Also, you can change this. If you have this as an electronic document, you can change this. Okay, you can swap out pages, change it, update it, no problem. Super easy to do. Really important to have your real estate information or rental information, that kind of stuff. Estate planning documents. I can't tell you how important it is when somebody passes away. So as you all know that I'm the IRA and retirement plan person here. We get that phone call, and a lot of these phone calls also are, well, I don't know where XYZ is. I know that my husband or my brother had an account at Northwest, but that is all I know. That's not helping your family members, that's not helping them at all. The most important thing you can tell your folks are, where's the power of attorney in case I am incapacitated? And the other important thing is, where's the will? Okay, is it in a safety deposit box? Is there a copy, hopefully, you know, on this electronic, is there a copy of it? Do they tell them where it is, right? So those are the two most important things. Another important thing, of course, is a living trust. And another important thing would also be a medical directive, or sometimes called a living will. If you're not, if you're in the hospital and you haven't told anybody anything, that makes for a very hard situation for family members and friends. So a will, definitely. Power of attorney for sure. Definitely nice to haves would be trust or that medical directive. Okay. Then we go to online and social media accounts. We talk about these as like, I will tell you right now, somebody passes away, the hardest thing to do is to attempt to close out a Facebook account for someone who has passed away. Gmail, if somebody's passed away, you cannot get into their Gmail account. There are things called digital wills, where actually they talk about who has the authority to get into my electronic assets. Have that information there for them, because that's also important. Somebody passes away or becomes incapacitated. Power of attorneys now also talk about digital assets, not just financial assets. So that's really important to have too. Usernames, passwords, all that sort of thing. Medical information, physicians, somebody's not well, who do you call, right? Who are your doctors? Very important to have. Long-term care if you have anything like that. Final wishes in case you were to pass away, okay? So care of pets. This is near and dear to my heart, okay? I have a cat, Cinder Cat Wilbur Krause, and something were to happen to me and my husband, we definitely want the cat to be taken care of. Who's the vet, right? Who's the vet? Who, if something were to happen to us so we couldn't take care of it, who's the person who's going to take care of a little old Cinder? So that sort of thing, that's always important. That also is a relief to family members who are trying to help you out at that time. So we've come to the end of organizing your important documents, financial and otherwise. And I will give this over to Ms. Denise here, actually to
Awesome.
Chris. Let's see what we have.
Yeah, Chris, if you could share your screen again.
Yeah, share the screen there.
Thank you so much, guys. Joanna, really, really great information. Same with Chris. Thank you guys so much for presenting today. We really appreciate that. Also, as a side note, this is something I've been in banking for quite a while that I've learned over the years. If you do have a POA, your attorney, in fact, will not have capability to do anything for you if you are deceased. So keep that in mind. That is only for when you are still living, that a power of attorney is in effect, okay? So just keep that as a little token on the back of your mind. So what we're going to now are the question and answers. And somebody asked earlier where you can find the documents. So the financial organizer that Joanna was talking about is definitely on our website, and that website and link are listed right here on the screen under financial organizer. So you can definitely write that down. But again, I will be sending out that thumb drive to everyone that already has these documents preloaded. But I will also send emails out with the same information. So we will get the information in hand that you need. And if you have any other questions, certainly reach out to either Joanna and Chris or myself, and we'll be happy to help you. So now let's get to our Q&A session. If you would like to ask some questions, go ahead and open your chat box, which is at the bottom of the screen. And again, you can pose them either to everyone so that everyone can see it, or you can pose them directly to Chris or Joanna. If you pose them to everyone, I will read them out loud, and then Joanna and Chris will answer them to the benefit of everyone. So go ahead and hit us with your questions. We're ready.
We are ready.
Give a few moments there. Yeah, there's such great information. You know, I know that being able to plug in that information about social media and being able to access those accounts, that's a really big deal. I think a lot of people don't really think about, but so much of a person's life story is on these social sites now, and it's just be pretty sad to, you know, never be able to look at that, you know, again, should something happen. And
also if you need to shut it down. So a lot of people don't understand that when you leave these social media sites open and you can't shut them down, that also leads to ID theft. And that's a big problem. International ID theft, they look at all kinds of social media accounts, and they also definitely like to go into looking at deceased accounts so that they can figure out a way to, you know, rip people off. We don't want.
All right, guys, and we have a question from Stuart. Let me scroll back up. Does designating an additional owner to an account necessarily provide that person access to the funds in the account? He may have some trust issues.
Yes. If they're an owner on the account, they can do whatever they want to on the account.
Yeah. In that case, personally, I would recommend that you add them as a beneficiary. If you don't want them to have access while you're still living, add them as a beneficiary to your account.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then I saw also, that's a ton of personal information. That is correct. It is a ton of personal information.
It is.
Boatload, and that is why, so certain kinds of suggestions, that's one of the things, you know, we talk about with, you can use a thumb drive, and you can encrypt that thumb drive if you want to. You can encrypt that thumb drive. You can have, that's why I'm saying, you know, you don't have to do everything all at once. You can make several copies of these, or versions, if you will. Maybe there's a stripped down version that you might give to one individual, okay? Maybe there's the full Monty where you keep someplace else. Maybe you keep the full Monty in paper form, okay? But it is in a place with maybe your to-go bag, and it's in a place that you know that where it is, and that if you have to leave that place in 15 minutes, 20 minutes, you grab it and you go, okay? And that's where that is. But on the thumb drive, you have a smaller version, maybe the top 20 hits of the things that you think you might need, okay? Another way is you can always have this thumb drive in a secure location, right? You can have it in a safety deposit box if you wanted to. You can have it in a safe if you wanted to. So you have to keep, you know, nothing is foolproof, but if you have a separate thumb drive that is not connected to anything else, that's going to be harder to do. And it's also, if it's encrypted, that's going to be harder to get a hold of than something else.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, next question. If I have a single account, owner account with a person listed as POD on it, is the total insurance on this account 250 or 500,000?
250.
Right. And just to be clear, you're talking about the account versus the institution. This is important to so when you look at this question, talking about if you name a beneficiary, what if you have more accounts titled the same way? This could influence the amount of coverage that you actually have. which is why I think, you know, definitely utilizing that NCUA estimator is a great tool to plug in your scenario to see how it applies to you and or your beneficiaries.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely recommend using that estimator. It's really great. If they are co-owner on the account, can their credit affect your credit?
No. No, only
No.
you're only guilty of what you do. You're not guilty of what somebody else is. Well, now, for example, we'll say this though. Let's say you had a checking account and that person wrote bad checks and it's a joint checking account. That could affect you. That is true. That is true if it's a joint checking account. Okay. But if it was bad enough where that person had a legal action against them, and let's say they were, you know, found guilty of writing bad checks, that person is responsible for that. But that could show up on your credit report as time goes on, but there are ways on your credit report to fix something like that.
Yeah, and I just want to expand on that a little bit more as well. When we talk about having someone on the account jointly, can they influence your credit? At least from the scenarios I hear people, if the other person has a legal issue, just like Joanna spoke about, could that influence that account that you're joined on? Yes, it can, because that's considered their asset as well. So they don't know the agreement between you and that other person, that really this is your money. As far as they can see, this is a joint account, this is jointly shared. So if they are owed, if the other person owes money and they're joined on the account with you, that money that's up for grabs, because they consider that asset that person's asset. So that's important to take into consideration when adding someone to the account jointly as well.
Yeah, and then we have one last question. Since the membership demographic of NWFCU is rather special in many respects, what do we know about the sourcing of the thumb drives you are going to be sending out, i.e. Chinese suppliers? Tainting of supply chains can be a real problem. And we do agree. What I do know about these thumb drives is that they came from Summit, which is our supplier when it comes to these types of things, and they are a US company. Now, where they get them from, I can't speak to, unfortunately. So hopefully that answers your question.
And again, that's an external tool. So the great thing about the thumb drive is that you're not connected to the you know, to the net. You know, so
Yeah.
So that gives you an added layer of protection from cyber crimes.
Exactly. All right. Do we have any more questions, guys? I think I've addressed all of them. I've read all of them. Yep, we did all of them. All right. So then now we get to the exciting part. A raffle. We're raffling off a $25 Visa gift card. So here is the question. I will give you some time to go ahead and open up your chat box. And you want to make sure that your answer will be addressed to everyone so that everyone can see it. So I'll just give you a few minutes before I pose the question to get your chat box open. And then hopefully you have very fast fingers and you'll be the first to answer and you'll be our big winner. All right, ready? What's the amount of NCUA coverage for a single depositor? First correct answer wins. I gotta scroll back up. I can't see who that was. Patricia, yes. Woo. You are the lucky winner. I need to put a cowbell at some point. Patricia, I do have your email address since you're registered for this, so I will be reaching out to you for your address, as well as everyone else. If you don't want the thumb drive, you certainly don't have to give me your address so I can send it to you, but we would love to get this tool into your hands. And again, you can always download it by going onto our website with that link we showed earlier. Chris, do you mind going back real quick? Right there. You can always download them there as well. But then if you get the thumb drive, then you have a thumb drive as well. So it's a nice little gift.
And it's so handy and so attractive. The other nice thing is that it's a thumb drive that has pretty good storage on it. So you can also upload other things to it. It's just not, you don't have to just keep the organizer on there. So you can upload you know, the scans of your documents. There's more things that you can put on there. So it's pretty handy.
Yeah, very, very good tool. All right. Thank you guys so much for your time today, and thank you for tuning in. We certainly appreciate your interest in our webinars. Next month, we'll have a security roundtable sort of webinar coming up, so it'll be a little bit different. And go out in an email as well if it hasn't already. So we look forward to seeing many of you again very soon. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to any of us. We'll be happy to help you. All right. Thank you guys so much, and you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.